imposible. A veces preguntamos de dónde viene la gente y alguno grita de Byron Bay. Mirá la cara de chileno que tenés, boludo.
Wow, did you see that? That was Facundo Herrera, today's special guest on my podcast, which still does not have a name. I am evolving this podcast from the previous types of episodes where you will have just seen me speak to you at the camera like a big lame-o. Now I am inviting guests onto the podcast. From here on out, it's going to be me interviewing comedians or other creative people that I am inspired by or want to learn from, etc., etc. You will have to excuse that my camera and audio situation did not sync. So my audio totally sucks. I also recorded it wrong, so I don't get me and Facundo on the same screen. Anyway, it's kind of a small disaster because it took me a long time to edit, but Facundo was great. He had it all sorted out. He's an Argentinian comedian, Sydney-based, really great guy, but I'm going to let the interview do the rest of the talking. Let's go watch it. And what do you and Fatty do? Or
the clap. 1, 2, 3.
Facundo Herrera, welcome to my podcast, which does not have a name.
Yeah. That's usually what happens.
Oh, good. That's good.
With everyone's podcast, though. Except people, yeah. Yeah, mine included, of course. Everything I do does not have a name.
Well, that's good. This is what I like about you. You're a person who just starts things. You have an idea and you're like, yep, let's do it. You don't like spend too much planning or like overthinking or any of that. And that's why I like working with you. For people who don't know, well, what I'm talking about, I've been working with you and Fadi Kassab with your podcast.
Yeah, that's correct.
And the reason, it's the truth.
I feel like this is like when they take you with a judge and say that's correct. Yes. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you do some talking soon because I'm not very good at it. But the reason that I wanted to bring you on as my first guest to the podcast with no name is because, obviously you and I met at the end of 2019 because I approached you wanting to work with you, learn from you about comedy. And then suddenly you just disappeared.
I vanished.
I was like, where did he go? And suddenly you were huge in Mexico. Do you reckon you could please tell me what happened in December 2019 or November, whenever it was?
Yeah, well, November I was doing a festival in Sydney. It was called Hispanic Comedy Festival, a festival that basically brings comedians from Latin America, and they just make them tour around Australia. And I was hosting that festival in Sydney, and now I got to open for a few acts. And the main act of that run was Franco Escamilla. He's from Mexico. He's probably the biggest biggest is a weird word, but maybe the best sell Hispanic comic in the entire market. And I got to open for him, and we just, got along. I got along with his manager, and I opened for him in Sydney, Melbourne, and then they just invited me to open a few shows in Mexico. And I think they invite me to one city, and that city is supposed to have like 3 shows. It was like a theater with like 4,000 people, something like that. And I was like, yeah, I'll be there. And then I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna be there. So I text back like, I call him, I don't remember. I was like, listen, I'm gonna go all the way there, so might as well just book me for everything. And it's like, fine, let's do it. And that's what happened. And I spent most of my time there. And then COVID came up, and I got just back to Australia for like a month off to see my partner and make sure that no one stole my stuff. and then like lockdown, and then and then after that I came back to Mexico and just keep touring and stuff like that.
So what's the time frame? You met him around November 2019, and then he invited you for shows when?
No, I made him, I think was August And November, I was already in Mexico at the end of the November.
Right. Wow. Yeah, right. So you had a decent amount of time before the pandemic hit. And I remember you said something, it's so bold of you to be like, I'll be over there for one show. You might as well book me for all your shows, Franco, the best-selling comedian in the region. I remember you said something about like you met him and because you didn't really know who he was, like you had no attachment to like, oh, celebrity. So you guys just like got along because you were just like
Yeah, well,
mates.
I'm assuming like he's a pretty normal guy.
That
But
helps.
like when you're I got to meet a lot of celebrities since then. And I guess this like you realize very soon that all these people who find big success or like they have these um like God aura around them, like everyone is just being weird. Like everyone's trying to agree, everyone's trying to take something out of you, they see you as a um like what do you mean, like they see I mean people see famous people and successful people like, oh, what can I get out of this, like something that they presents to you in front of you. They see you as an opportunity for something. That's how I feel and how I think they live most of the time. I'm not really, I wasn't point in my life. I've been that person. I'm not like just the perfect human being. I've been that person who like, oh, I met this guy, I'm gonna get this. And of course I have like, oh, like this is my work. This is networking, this is good. But it wasn't never like trying to push anything. I was just having fun and just meeting people, and I was happy with the work I was doing at the time. I was very proud of it. And I was doing English, and then I was open for in Spanish. I haven't done Spanish in years, and I was like, I'm doing great. Like this is good. I'm just gonna have a good time. And we just became friends, and just got along. And one thing led to another, and he invited me to open his home city. And
What's his
I
home
don't know,
city in Mexico?
Monterrey.
Monterrey.
He
But
wasn't
yeah,
born there, but he lives there.
right. It's so true. Like people do get so opportunistic with meeting celebrities, but there's that line between the networking aspect, right? Like I've got back to comedy, and every show I do when I'm around experienced comedians, I try and chat to them, not because I necessarily want anything, but like there's things to learn. And I mean, I'm always like open to an opportunity, but it's they're not celebrities,
I
so
mean,
maybe it's different.
that's fine. I mean, that happens any type of job, like any work environment that you go, that
True.
that's always on the table. But
There's a pecking order.
but if you are not a person who like like clearly see the line between being a normal human being who interacts with people and just like I gonna get whatever I want, and I don't care the consequences, and I don't care who you are. I gonna like drain your blood. I don't
Gross.
know, like it's just like I think that's pretty easy to figure out if you're that type of person.
Yeah, you can spot who the
My English is
bloodsuckers are.
terrible today, so just apologize to you and your listeners and viewers.
It's not. You have great English, and I know that you want to do more English speaking podcasts to practice your English, which is good, but like your English is fine. So tell me about, you said with Franco, you hadn't done Spanish comedy. Obviously, I haven't even mentioned that you're from Argentina. I'll put it in a subtitle at the front of the podcast. But you
Okay.
are an Argentinian comedian living in Sydney, Australia, and you've been doing comedy for how many years in Australia?
I think I started doing comedy around 2019, 2000. I think 2019 was a year that I actually started, because I did like a few open mics in 2018 that led nowhere to nowhere. And then I was like, okay, this year I'm gonna do it. And then I signed for Raw, and I
Oh,
was
did you?
like, yeah, and I was like, okay, I have 2 months to come up with 5 minutes. So it doesn't matter what happened, it doesn't good or bad. For this day, I'm gonna have 5 minutes, even if it doesn't nothing happen. I'm gonna to do it.
Yeah.
And that's how I started doing it. And then I did Raw, and then I just kept going.
It's a good motivation to have something like Raw. Like you just book
It's
it in
good.
and then it's there and you just have to do it. Anything like that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of competitions around the odds, but
Not a competition guy.
you know, it was a great incentive to do it. And of course, you know, like if you win Raw and stuff like that, you know, you get a lot of rewards, and that's value. I don't care about words, but rewards.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that because that's networking. That's you know, like opportunities to keep performing, and you know, like might lead you somewhere you want to go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that definitely happened in Mexico. So you went back to Spanish comedy when you got to Mexico. Did you have a set in Spanish?
No.
Really?
I mean, I have some things that I thought. I mean, I done shows in Spanish before, but in Argentina, going to Mexico, in a totally different country, and just, you know, like be, you know, the way I look, because I look like I'm trying to, you know, like be the one of Justin Bieber dancers, and you know, like it doesn't really appeal to the general market.
Really? I think it did, didn't it?
Well, for some people it works, but most of the people, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It was just like a prejudge that I have, and I was right. I was right, to be fair, because I didn't go through any open mics before I jumped. Like I flew to Australia to Mexico, and same night I was opening to a 4,000 seats theater, and it was crazy.
That's insane.
It was. Yeah.
Did you translate any of your English jokes into Spanish?
I try to translate some bits. I think only one or two translate and work, but it's just a different humor. I mean, it's another rhythm, there's a lot of things to adjust. A lot of things to adjust. Rhythm, the way you talk, the terms you're using, the references, like it was too much to adjust. So translate, you know, like straight from English to Spanish, it wasn't working at all.
So how did you do it then? You went over there, you wrote on the plane, like how did you go? And did you bomb ever in these shows? On this tour?
I of course I wrote a set that I thought, oh, this is gonna be funny, this should work, this is safe material, because they will understand this, and they understand this, and they understand this. And the first show I opened, my first gig was 2 shows in a row on the same night in this very it was not the capital, you know, it was like a little town outside of the capital, very specific town, you know, like, and I bombed the first one for sure. That was a bomb. That was a bomb. And I just went backstage and I was like, fuck my life. Like, what the fuck am I gonna do now? I have like an entire tour ahead of me. What is going on? I just stopped scrubbing my notes. It's like, okay, I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna move this here, and this, and this, and this, and I'm not gonna do this. And then I took a nap, and yeah, and the second show was fine.
Right.
It was fine.
And then you're like, oh yeah, that's comedy. That's how it works.
Yeah, I mean, I finished to adjust. I understood I was like, okay, this is not the rhythm I should go. I shouldn't go straight to a joke. This also, you need to adjust to the fucking room. Like on a 4,000 seats theater or whatever it is, there's still, when you open in, there's still at least 10% of the room that just keep coming in. Or how people are talking. We're talking about like 400-500 people, just like their noises. Wow. And if you're not, when you're coming from a comedy club, you're not really get used to that noise.
Yeah.
And you're not sure if people are listening to you, but then you realize, oh, no, wait. I have 3,500 people listen to me. So I can't really engage with that noise. I need to keep going. You know, like, but you figure out all those things by doing them.
Yeah.
So
There's
my
no
brain
way.
was like,
Yeah, wow. Well, you obviously did. You obviously have smashed it. So what happened after that? Like, how did you build your Instagram following? I remember, I think you must have said it to Fatty in a podcast ages ago, that Instagram was your teacher. Like you'd learnt so much from Instagram, and that was after you went to Mexico and just started building your following. Did you like finish your shows and be like, everyone follow me, I'm Facundo Herrera?
oh no,
How
actually
did
that was the one thing that I never did, and I should have done every time because I saw people doing it.
you-
But Franco has a very big platform, so every time I was on the shows and everything, I mean, his YouTube channel has 11 million subscribers. So like anything you do
wow.
around him, of course, gets you a lot of exposure, and based on that exposure, you're gonna get a bunch of people interested in you, or at least following you, or like whatever it is.
Yeah.
So as long as you just keep posting stuff, creating content, people are engaged with you, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's not that I did something like, oh, no one ever done this, and I
Right.
create something new. Like I was just working with someone who was huge, and
Right.
that lead to that.
I
And if
honestly
you
thought you must have been up there being like, I'm Facundo Herrera, here's my Instagram, handing out cards, flyers,
no,
hustling.
never done that. Actually, I think most of the people who follow me came out from the shows and from the social media. But it's funny because it doesn't matter how many people following you. What matters if people are like you enough to engage with you to a point that they want to see you and see what you do. In my case, I'm a comedian, so I want people to come to my shows, and that takes a lot of effort and time. But when you get that,
Yeah.
it's great. It's great.
Yeah, I was talking to a comedian, I think it was Kate Dolan, and I forget what the conversation was, but basically as a comedian, your early stages, you perform to different crowds, and obviously it's a hit and miss because some crowds just don't resonate with your material. But eventually, if you do it enough, if you see enough people, you take like 1% from each show and they start following you, and then eventually you do your show, and that 1% from like 100 shows is a crowd for your show. It's just people that like you.
Yeah,
Just
I don't think I have. This is very personal. I don't believe that that's the way to build a that's the way that you're gonna build a following. I
right.
honestly think that if you don't use any of the media tools, and that includes social media, how you gonna get a crowd? How?
Oh yeah. Well, I think
Because
it's as
I've
well as social. Because
yeah, I
when they
mean
come and follow you.
I don't know any comedian that doesn't go big, that went big and they didn't use like Comedy Central platform or like Just for Laugh platform or whatever it is. I'm sorry, but unfortunately, that's how it works. Like people going to see you if they get to know you, and then even if you do the math, you can do the same open mic 100,000 times, and you're probably gonna go great. You can. It's not about you being good or bad. It's just about how you can engage to a market, because it's a
Yeah.
business at the end of the day. And I don't believe you can do it. Have viral YouTube, that includes media for me, like going viral on YouTube, like all the stuff. If you don't have something like that happening, I feel it's really hard to find an audience.
Totally. I think like, yeah, well, this day and age, you have to be marketing yourself. You have to have some sort of social media savvy so that when people at this 1% at shows follow you, they're actually following you literally on the channels.
Yeah.
What's so Comedy Central and Just for Laughs, they are the big rooms. Is that right?
Oh no, I don't
Or
know.
is this
It
TV?
depends on the country. I was just
Right.
on top of my head.
What did you
I
mean
don't
by
know.
those though?
Well, I mean, if you don't use a platform, if you don't like, let's for example, I was in the
Oh, I
city,
see.
right?
I see.
I saw an artist busking. She was amazing. She was fucking amazing. I seen her there for 3 years. It doesn't mean that she she posts a gig, and all those people who are there clapping are going there. The process to grab these people and make them follow her and engaging with her in a real way, it doesn't happen that easily.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think use I don't know. Fuck, I can finish the sentence because I could.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, it's just social media marketing. This is what I'm using kind of as my trade with some comedians. Like I'm starting conversations in my networking. I'm like talking about I'm getting loads of comedy knowledge from them, asking questions, and then I'm going to their Instagram or their social media and checking out what they're doing and being like offering my services back, because I'm obviously a social media manager. I wouldn't even say expert. So yeah, what I'm saying is the importance of social media is very high, and we're on the same page. So tell me, Facundo, what's the next plan? Now that you are big in Mexico, don't be modest. I told you I was having a Spanish lesson with a Mexican teacher, profesora, and she was like, I don't know how I told her that I did comedy in Sydney, and she mentioned Argentinian comedians in Mexico, and I was like, oh yeah, I know one, Facundo Herrera. And she's like, you know Facundo Herrera? And I felt really
That's nice.
like I knew a celebrity. So yeah, if my Mexican teacher knows you.
Well, I'm not sure what's next. I'm coming out with music. The moment I'm producing music with Warner Music Mexico, and that's been released on my channel. And then I'm working on a show for next year. I'm not sure if it's gonna be an English one or a Spanish one. I don't know. It's just me of near Christmas. Everything feels weird and blurry.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna travel to Mexico next year as well. But right now, like in the middle of like a I'm not transitioning. I'm in the middle of transition.
To what
Between
gender?
like I'm trying to pick exactly what I like to do for next year. I put a lot of attention to that because I feel like in the last 2 years I've been doing everything all at once, and I got like a little bit burnt out for a little bit, and now I'm like, okay, let's just see what I want to, because time passed by, and you want to be focused on the things that you actually want to do instead of what you feel that you have to do. So I think one of my goals this year is to try to enjoy more my work and whatever I'm doing with my life. And yeah, so music is gonna be there and comedy is gonna be there, but I'm not sure how. So
right.
my position
Yeah.
right now.
You do a lot. You jump around, and it is, I mean, there's that thing about like putting your time and focus into one thing, do 10,000 hours of the same thing, and then you become the expert. And I struggle with this. I try and do everything all at once, and I don't think I'll ever be. I mean, not saying this about you, by the way, but I don't think I'll ever be an expert at everything.
Yes, you are.
I'm definitely not. I'm just like, I can totally understand your focus issues. But tell me about the song Estrella. For people who don't know Spanish like me, it means stars in Spanish.
Well, that's the first single that we're releasing. It was not the first song I wrote. But when I start writing music in this new journey, it started being very dark. Like all the lyrics and all the songs, was some songs were very heavy, some songs were like very painful to listen to, like in terms of, oh shit. And so that was the first one that actually was bright. I wrote that song to my partner. It's just about how we met in Los Angeles in 2016, and I tried to capture a little bit of like happiness between all the things that I was writing, and I was like, oh, okay. And stars actually was the one. It's a so stars. It's a sentence in the chorus which says like, tonight the stars are not showing up, or they're not in the sky because she went out to dance, and that's how bright she is. Like the stars not even come out.
Nice.
They can't compete with that. And it was a very, like, I feel like it was a very lovely, nice song. And actually, I put a lot of effort to show the music video because I was like, oh, this needs to be shot in LA. How the fuck am I gonna shoot this in LA on my own in a budget? And I worked it out, and we did it. We made it happen, and like we shoot it there. I team up with an amazing videographer, Victor, in California, and then I took all the footage and started editing, and the color grading. It was like entire process of like, oh, this needs to do justice to the song, and I think we got there. So
that's amazing. And you got an actress who looks similar to your partner.
Yeah, she's a friend. We met in LA as well in 2000. No, we met in oh, that was a crazy story. I helped her to find a place in LA before she moved. It was just like accidentally. It was I met her like 2 years before that, and then
2 years
someone
before
called.
Before you met your partner.
Yes.
Oh wow.
And I was staying in a hostel, and I was like just helping there, and some lady rang from Argentina. I was like, hi, I'm from Argentina, would like to go there. And I pick up the phone. I don't supposed to pick up the phone at the reception at all. And I just started speaking Spanish with her. And I said, yeah, and I explained everything she needs to do, like, the information that I got, or the places she can stay, or the places she can go, and the type of things she could do to afford, her her
accommodation.
The accommodation, yeah. And then Rocio, which is the girl I met 2 years ago, she called me. It's like, hey, are you in LA? And I was, yeah. I think my auntie just spoke with you. And it was like, no way. It's like, yeah, because that information was for me. So that's how we connect again. And she went to LA, and now she's an actress there. She have a career there. She's been there for years. And when this came up, I was like, I need a favor back. Nah, I didn't say that. I said, like, I'm shooting this music video. I would love to be part of it. Can you help out with this? And we just make it happen.
Surely that's not even a favor. That's like you doing her a favor.
Oh,
what a
no,
fun thing to do.
No. It was like, let's just do something together. We never got to do anything together. I think this is a perfect opportunity.
Yeah. And when did you shoot that? This year? You were in the US?
Yep. Yeah. I shoot that. Fuck, I'm terrible with the dates now. Yes, I shoot that this year.
Yeah, right. Well, that's exciting. I will link to it. ESTRELLAS, plural,
yep.
Right? Stars. Yep. Yeah, I don't know, obviously, the lyrics, but hearing you explain them, it's very nice.
Thank you.
If you could please. Oh, you've got the lyrics below the YouTube, actually. I was like, oh, I could translate that. I haven't got around to it, but I will. And then I'll tell you how much I like it. Awesome. And so we don't have long left, 6 minutes. Would you mind sharing with me a little bit about your writing process when you're writing comedy? This is something that I am really interested in because I struggle with it so much. But when you write jokes, like, how do you approach it? You see something funny, and then you have the punchline at the end, and then you like build the story, or what? Do you have a process?
Yeah, it's very messy. Sometimes I don't know, I'm in the middle of a conversation or something, or I read something and I was like, oh, that's funny. And one joke pops up in my head. If it makes me laugh and I feel I have potential, I actually would sit down and see like, okay, maybe I can start. Usually what turns me on, if a joke is good enough to make a short set out of it. Right?
Right.
So, for example, I don't know, like yesterday I heard stupid law in Australia. Someone was sharing a video with like the craziest laws in the countries, and one was in Australia. And he says that if you poop on a bridge, you actually get to send back to the country you came from. And I thought, that's great. But then what it pops up in my head, it's not, oh, this is gonna be the punchline. It is like the idea, it's so funny that you can come out with different angles to this. So that idea is interesting to me enough to sit down and write a set out of it.
Mm.
That's how I would write a set. And sometimes a bit is just a bit, just a joke.
So right. So a bit. I mean, a set is like a whole 5 minutes, right? So you do a whole
It could
5
be
minutes
now.
or 10
A set
or...
could be a set is a bunch of bits,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
It could be 3 minutes. It could be 5. It could be half an hour. I don't know,
So you could do. Sorry.
But what I'm trying to say is that what encapsulate a set is a theme or a reason to you to have all those jokes together. You have a reason. Those all just one-liners? Are those very inappropriate jokes? Has no relation to each other? Like, just say, oh, this is my song. I just wrote a song. This is this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you're saying if you heard something like, well, it was the law, if you poop on a bridge, that's very specific, then you'll be sent back to the country that you're from. So you would hear something like that, and you could probably sit down and just write loads of bits about that one funny thing. You could just and form a set. Wow, that's clever. That's definitely not how I. Well, I mean, I'm early.
How do you
learning,
do it?
I don't know. I think of one tiny little funny thing, and it's not even based on observation. It's just like something that comes in my head, and then I put it on the paper, and I just try loads of different things. I don't know. This is something I'm trying to work out for myself, but I just add lots of ideas around it. Most of them aren't even funny. They're not jokes. I'm just it turns into a bit of a story. And
you never know if it's funny until you do on stage.
That's true. Yeah.
Also, there's so many jokes that I could tell someone they're silly and they're like, yeah. But I know in my head, if I do it on stage, people are gonna laugh. But it doesn't mean that it's the greatest joke ever. It just means that it's funny.
That's true.
I don't put a lot of pressure on something you create. It's not really a healthy way to find yourself and what you like to do.
That's really good advice, actually.
I'm a very wise person.
Yeah, I know, Justin Bieber dancer. You are. But no, you're absolutely right. And I do need to put less pressure. I mean, you also do have you have a great persona on stage. If anyone hasn't seen Facundo, I mean, it's really hard to find your English set online, by the way. So English speaking people will struggle.
Yeah, I might have to shoot that again because I want to do some changes. The sound design I wasn't happy with it, so I might record again.
Oh, it is up there, isn't it? I didn't watch it because I've seen it, but yeah, okay, I'll link to that. But you have a great stage persona. People love you. I think I forget. Seizure said something I forget what the context was, but the girls swoon over you. He's like, Facundo can just say anything, and the girls are swooning.
That's not true.
That's
not true. That's something Seizure would say if I'm doing better than him that night. Have no excuse for that. That's not true.
Let's see. The listeners can look at your comedy show and leave a comment on what they think. But I have less than a minute now, Facundo. It's been really good. Thank you so much for your time. It was nice
to talk to you. Thanks for inviting me.
So good to talk to you. That's Sunny, by the way. Bye, Sunny.
Bye, Sunny.
Bye. And I will link to all your things to follow you. Ciao.
Thank you. We need followers.
Yeah,
we need them.